Hi guys, and welcome to the URC and Six Nations chat, brought to you as always by Betway. I'm Zelinel, this is Mark Keohane and Ollie Keohane. Mark, we're back in action this week. Six Nations is back on the menu. Bit of URC action, I suppose the game of the weekend. Potentially France-Scotland at Murrayfield.
Not Zebre Bulls.
Before we start, bet responsibly. And remember...
Top tip.
Remember, be wise, be cautious.
I mean...
Don't be reckless, like this guy might. Yes, big game for Zebre today. On Friday, entertaining the mighty Bulls. Blockbuster. God, we got to win that one. The Bulls don't win that one. Close shop for the year and bring on the Curry Cup. Hopefully, they're not going to be going anywhere near the wine, the pasta. I don't think there are any gondolas there. So, remember last time they went over there and played Benetton, we had them to beat a Benetton team with 6 reject South Africans, comfortably by 20 points. And at halftime, I was like, what happened to these giants from the north? They look like, they used to say in the old days of Super Rugby, the Bulls used to go over and they would turn from concrete to putty. So, hopefully, we'll see a bit of concrete, a bit of substance. And if they've got any realistic chance of doing something in the playoffs, they need to get a 5-pointer over there and then go on a winning run when they play 3 in a row at Loftus. So I have got them to win and win well, despite them not having a Mornay staying at 10. Obviously, there's issues around Chris Smith. I see they've gone with a young combination halfback. But geez, if the Bulls, our Curry Cup champions, aren't knocking over the worst team in the competition and the weakest one in Italy, it's not their competition. But I have faith in Jake and the Bulls to win this one quite comfortably.
Yeah, surely they've got to have learned some lessons from that woozy trip to Benetton the last time. You've got to see them knocking Zebre.
Well, that's not Venice. There's no gondolas, mate. So.
There we go, mate. Ollie?
I can't disagree with you.
Thanks for your input.
Well done. Great. Thanks very much. The rest of the URC action, obviously, you've got Sharks at Benetton, so it's their turn to ride the gondolas this weekend.
But Ollie loves the Sharks, though.
How good have they been, though? You just watch those.
Well, yeah, we're going to find out.
No, I think you kind of just got to back the form recently and just back, they've got South Africa's best player playing for them at the moment, Lekanyo. It's just fantastic from the Springboks to the kick of the domestic season to mid-domestic season. His form is just, he just like levels up in every game. Sharks slowly just acquiring every single Springbok from across the continent too, But, I think in this case it's a simple thing of just having to back form and hoping that they would have maybe learned lessons from watching the Bulls from afar and what happened when they went to Benetton. I think this is a Sharks game to take by 10 points.
You agree with that?
Yeah, no, look, I don't... I think it'll be double digits. But again, you look at the Sharks, their away game against the Stormers, just abysmal. They just didn't pitch up. But then did the Stormers play well? It's which way do you look at it? And then I really did think, yes, the red card had a big factor for 40 minutes at Loftus, and then obviously losing their own halfback and for the last 20 minutes. But I just feel there's a lot of bit more functional intelligence that I saw in the Sharks than what I saw in the Bulls.
Right.
There does seem to be a plan B if plan A doesn't actually work. And I think Lekanyo, as you said, Ollie, is so primary to that as a leader, what he provides on attack defensively. I'd like to see Fussy settle a bit more at fullback, in the sense of, I just got the feeling that in the last couple of games, having not played for 6 months, he's trying to show and trying a little bit too hard. He just needs to relax, take it a step back, and kind of, I think, relax his mind by half a yard, and it will come. I mean, he's a fantastic rugby player. And, I think Siya Kolisi, we always see him in these games. He just grows into it and he grows into it. But I was impressed with the Sharks against the Bulls, in the sense that the Bulls had a very good second half and could have knocked over a few teams. So again, that thing of, if the Sharks want to be, I'm not talking just top 8 playoff contenders, but in a top 4 and maybe get to a semi-final, these are the kind of games you've got to win. The big teams, they go to Benetton, who's an improving side, and they win there. They go to Zebre and they smash them. And I think that's what the likes of the Bulls and the Sharks have got to show this weekend. The Irish visits at the moment, very different when you go into there. But when you go to the likes of Scotland, Wales and Italy, and you're a South African top 3 side, you've got to back yourself to get the win.
Yeah, spot on. I think kicking game is central to that. The Sharks struggled a little bit to exit against the Bulls. The Stormers seem to have their kicking game quite tight and have found ways to win games using that. They're up against Connacht this week.
Connacht! in Galway.
Yes. So,
what did Andy Friend, the coach, say? I've been watching the games on telly.
Nice and dry.
It looks nice and dry and sunny in Cape Town. They're going to enjoy the pissing rain here, the mud, the slush, and our full capacity crowd. When I read that, I thought, oh my God, do these Stormers actually want to get on a plane? And that's the interesting thing of this competition is no other competition in the world would give that kind of the extremity on the way the season dovetails.
Yeah.
So you go from 35 degrees to the potential of 5 degrees. And with a 2-day preparation.
From 35 fans to
35,000.
35,000.
Yeah, so it's like ordinarily I would back the Stormers on form to win. But I would be surprised. To me, it would be a surprise if they got the win. I think they're playing well enough not to get done like they did in that Munster game early on in the season.
Yes.
I still think Connacht will do them, but not by much. But it will very much be down to home ground advantage and the rain and the mud and the slush and whatever's going to come, because apparently they've ordered it all for this weekend.
Doesn't the weather conditions that Province usually play in at Newlands, I mean, this team maybe not so much, but traditionally they do play in some wet weather. Do you think that stands in a good stead?
Yeah, I mean, rainiest suburb in South Africa, Newlands. But I don't know, I've just got a feeling that the Stormers may actually go over there and grind out a win.
I'm with this guy.
You know, included Evan Roos in that squad as well. The Stormers do have some big physical forwards. And they've got what appears to be a fairly settled backline. Like you said, you know, their kicking's looking solid. Looks like there's a plan there. And this is an energetic group of young Stormers guys with a couple of old heads there, you know, seasoned guys. You've got Stephen Kitsoff there, Francois Haber going over, Dion Ferry, you know, a couple of guys that kind of been there and done that before. Dion Ferry's just come back from playing, you know, I mean, like 7 years in France. So I think it could be a great combination of sort of excitement from the young guys that haven't really, you know, done much touring, and then the old heads that actually know how it is over there. And I don't know, I've got a feeling that the Stormers this weekend can get 3 points, like a 3-point win over Connacht.
Look, it wouldn't shock me if the Stormers won, but it wouldn't shock me if they lost. I sound like no.
I was going to say.
On the other hand,
it's hard games. What I'm getting at there is, previously we've been disappointed when the Stormers have gone on the road and actually dropped a game that you think you've got such a good squad, or they dropped a game at home and you think, how did that team come here and win?
Yeah.
I am being a realist about getting on a plane on a Wednesday, arriving on the Thursday, one captain's run, and it's Gale Force wins, and those conditions are turgid. And these guys have been training in it all year, kind of thing. It would be the equivalent of them coming here from that and 35 degrees heat,
melting,
and the last 20 minutes they fall on the
That'd be
wayside.
fantastic when that finally happens.
Apparently it's going to happen from next week onwards.
Maybe next season's yours.
So I have been impressed by the Stormers. I mean, Dobber did an interview with Craig Ray on Daily Maverick and said that he doesn't say it's just down to him, but Dobber, take credit. He's managed to get back on the field, given what Rian Oberholz has done off the field.
Fantastic.
And that goes back to a criticism. I know, Dobber, you took it personally. We know when we said a while ago that part of the reason the Stormers were struggling was because the charismatic John Dobson wasn't 100% focus wasn't there, because he was doing things in the boardroom.
Right.
He was forcing to be play head of marketing, head of commercial, acting CEO. And so I think you can see the kind of Stormers performance we've seen in the last 3-4 games has been consistent with the enthusiasm we saw from the first year that Dobber was in charge, the kind of rugby we saw Western Province play under Dobber.
Yeah.
So I'm really encouraged by what I'm seeing. They're building a nice squad. You know, players go to different clubs in the world and don't do anything when they settle on one club. He seems to have found a link with Mani Lebok at 10. I like the fact that you have the option of Damien at 12. I still believe that is his best position. And the back three are also very exciting. So he's been a big thing for me. There's a settled 10 there that has got a little bit of X factor that unfortunately a good solid citizen like Tim Swill doesn't have. He can do that from broken play. As Ollie mentioned, you know, Evan Roos does get some game time. They've got a fairly decent pack, and Stephen Kitsoff is he's on a different level, you know, of player, kind of leader, and I think a very underestimated leader as well.
Yeah.
I go back to those referee challenges. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen an Oak challenge so many and get so many right. Somewhere at the 35. But it's been cool. I said this last week. It's been cool to see the Stormers win.
Yeah.
I would love to see them get the win, but if Connacht edge one, I'm not going to say, the Stormers, it's doom and gloom. They haven't turned the corner. I think it's a very shitty draw for us to go back for one game and then come back and do everything. So up against it, I think the Stormers, and then obviously massively up against it, the Lions.
I was going to say, talk about poor draw. Those boys are up against the log leaders away.
Well, most teams would say they actually got the best draw because they play Leinster on a Friday night when Ireland plays that weekend. So half the Leinster side, the strength of the Leinster side is 2/3 of it is the Irish side. So they will be playing very much a second-tier Leinster. And that's why...
we team these guys up for hiding.
And that's why I think it will be just only 30 points. Because if it was the full-strength Leinster side, I'm afraid that could have been 60 or 70.
I mean, we watched that Lions game and both said, we knew the Lions weren't great, but we didn't realise just how bad the situation there is at the moment. Big issues with defence, and it seems just culture and sort of like culture of defence. And you look at teams that, don't necessarily have the best talent, but just have that scrap and just get up and get back and make a tackle, and they don't go back in the tackles and they're double tackling guys, and whether they're scoring only 10 points in the game, they're conceding 7, and that's just not the case with the Lions. These guys are running left, right and centre through them, and I don't see them. I see them potentially going a couple of points down early and then just sort of rolling over again, and then scoring one final try, and the commentator says, some nice sort of consolation for the Lions in the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, what I really kind of just I had to put the volume down in the early part of the URC. It was the patronising nature of the commentators. Those broke South Africans, they deserve one try today. They've really played hard. And it's like, that's the crap we used to talk about the Welsh, Irish and Scottish when they came here.
Puff them up.
So, puff them up. So the Sharks can't get really stronger than they are at the moment. The Bulls, outside of Morné Steyn, are at their strongest. This is as strong as it gets for the Stormers. So we don't have the issue, we don't have international players there, outside of injuries. No excuses from here on in, and we get that home, that 3 to 4 weeks on a stretch at home. And as Johan van Graan, the South African is going to Bath, who's coach in Munster, said those 3 weeks will determine how those playoffs are going to look. So he has a healthy regard for what could happen in South Africa. And I just think from a South African rugby public perspective, God, we need to go on a roll.
Yes, we do.
And we need to have a month of just winning and knocking over a few of these teams.
Agreed.
Because heaven forbid they come to Loftus and smash us, and then it's like, let's close the shop on this tournament for a year and get a proper pre-season. But I don't think it's going to happen. I'm confident that the next month will be our most enjoyable and profitable month. And bet responsibly.
So listen, let's switch it up to Six Nations.
To South Africa.
Switch it up to Six Nations. We've got England at home against the defending champions. They've just come off a nice big win against Italy.
What? They beat Italy?
Yep. And I suppose morale is up there. They've got Manu Tuilagi back. What are your thoughts on England's chances against Wales?
They're going to smash them at Twickenham. Mike Brown, the former England fullback, writing in a column, said he said the games that the media used to play before their big matchup was a composite 15. Who makes, and it was normally 8-7, 9-6. He said it's 15-0. The only bloke he said potentially could crack the England side he's not playing. He got axed.
Correct.
Riz Ahmed, the winner. So
how? Why?
God, who knows? We'll have to ask Simon Thomas in the Valleys about that. But it's traditionally a fantastic game, England against Wales. If this game was in Cardiff, I'd be saying a lot. I'd be very different in my approach.
Right.
But I think at Twickenham, Eddie's went to Italy, pumped them as we thought they would. The way the results panned out with Scotland edging, or Wales edging Scotland, Ireland getting knocked over by France.
Brought England straight back into it.
It's brought England right back into it, and I think England could win this thing, and it's going to come down to England-France. I think it's at Twickenham, and I know I'm backing in that game. It's certainly not France. So
that's a clue.
Eddie Bones, I'm with you, mate. So I think it'll be a comfortable win for England. Annie Murray, our good friend, the First Lady of Bach Rugby, she left a voice message to say, I'm on my way to the UK. I've got a busy weekend. I'm going to watch England against Wales on Saturday, and then I'm going to watch Chelsea against Liverpool on Sunday.
Fabulous.
And I said, oh my God, that's not a shabby weekend away from home. So Annie, enjoy it. And we'll text you during the game. At least you can watch a game and not be anxious and nervous about it, because you don't really care who wins that Saturday game.
I know where you are in Liverpool-Chelsea, but Wales-England, what are your thoughts there?
Wales-England, I agree with you. Cardiff, very different story. Like the weaker side playing at home sort of levels things out. But England, like you said at the start, but when we spoke before the Six Nations, I think we sort of wrote England off a little bit, kind of like, this is between Ireland and sort of France. I never believed it was France's. I'm still standing strongly by Ireland, but you get the creeping sort of sense now that England are coming through, and like you said, could potentially be a final there. And I think England whacked them quite comfortably at Twickenham. Like you said, just that squad is so much stronger, and I think it could be over 2 tries, like a 15-point win for England.
Okay, well, I think none of us are real big believers in France. They are at Murrayfield against Scotland this weekend.
Yeah, look, I mean, Scotland 6 injuries. Like you pointed out, if 7 flankers are injured, you're only going to pick one in the first place. So, yeah, I don't know. It's a tough one. I mean, you don't want to keep sort of nailing France and they keep actually winning, because I was quite emphatic that Ireland were going to pump them and then they didn't. But yeah, at Murrayfield, Scotland do have a solid pack to potentially match France in the way that Ireland didn't. But I'm going to disagree with you, and I'm going to say that France do win this one. I don't think it's going to be pretty, but I think it's going to be by 5 points.
Yeah. You got the Scots?
I've always got the Scots. Scotland the Brave. And Peter de Villiers. Love that bloke. He's the former South African born, raised French 71 Test veteran who's the scrum coach of Scotland. And I think that is quite decisive. He is so ingrained in the French culture. He's got a French wife. His kids are pretty much French. He played for them for 10 years. He gives a lot of valuable insight into how to
That's
disrupt
a great
them.
Call, yeah.
And the one thing about this side is they really are on a flamboyant high, and Galtier has brought a lot of calm, and Sean Edwards has brought immense structure and discipline to their defence. But we saw it three years ago at Murrayfield. They just had to knock over a kind of iffish Scottish side. Somewhere they lost, they didn't win the Six Nations. Last game of the tournament, Scotland, all they've got to do is win. And Scotland rolled them. Duan van der Merwe scored that great try, and they lost the Six Nations again. So it's sometimes you get in a tournament where, if you look at the 2 team sheets, there shouldn't be 15 points between the 2 in terms of talent. But one style just doesn't quite gel with the opposition style, and you've seen it the world over. There's a team that just seems to give another team a spot of bother, but then would go get smashed by a team that you think that it shouldn't even be a factor. So I think France wins this one. They've improved then as a team. They've learned their lessons of the last 2 years, and they're on the right trajectory to be considered one of the favourites going into the World Cup. And they've gone from 8th in the world to 5th, and they go to 4th, and they keep on moving. They lose again, and the big question mark is, why can't you go and beat that Scottish team? Because there's expectation on you.
Yeah.
We keep on going back to that thing of expectation with France. 2023, God, I was there in 2007. So much expectation on that side. They played the Pumas in the opening game. They got rolled. The expectation was like, wow, it was too much for them to kind of deal with. Half the Puma side, most of them were playing in the top 14, so there was no mental issue there with the Pumas. France then somehow got to a semi-final, lost to England, played the Pumas in the 3rd and 4th again, and got rolled again. So it's mentally, this will be a big test for the French, So I'm going to stick with the Scots. I thought that they were. I thought, how the hell did they go to Cardiff and actually lose? They really will wonder why. It's just, how the hell did they win against England? I think it balances it out. I think you'll get a good performance. I like the way Gregor Townsend coaches, but I think Peter de Villiers is fairly significant. So I'm going to go against the French. Ollie, I take it you're going for a draw.
I'm going for France. I think Scotland take the run bait, and France score some nice turnover tries.
And they've scored 71% of their tries have come from broken play, the French.
Great kicking game.
So, and also they got a back 3 who knows how to kick.
Correct.
They can run, but
they just keep kicking on that one Scottish winger as well.
Yeah,
that's
the one that Rassie said. Be missing Rassie and old Frank, eh? Maybe Frank comes out on the weekend in his English outfit, eh? With a bowler hat and a little dicky bow, and it's like go England. But
you're going Scotland.
I'm going Scotland, eh? And but just talking about England, I mean, I wanted to mention this earlier. Been loving the little to and fro between Eddie and Austin Healy. Austin Healy, the former England winner / scrum half / whatever. Look, he writes, talks as much as he played. I think he's entertaining. Some people think he's cocky, he's arrogant, but when he criticised Eddie, and I thought rightly so, for those substitutions in the match against Scotland, and Eddie then, and he said, heaven forbid, but I'm thinking Italy could actually beat us. And then obviously they got blown away, and then Eddie's like to the media, whoever ghostwrites Austin Healy's column, I hope you can kind of put the egg on his face, that he eats humble pie and that there's egg on his face and all the various cliches that he threw out. And Austin Healy just responded in his column the next week to Eddie, and he said, I'm an Englishman first and foremost, so there's no egg on my face. I love England winning. A slight at Eddie, who's an Australian, okay? He says, secondly, there's two things here. Either you accept my offer to help and to fix things, as I told you last week, or you don't read me. So you can't have both. So I thought that was a wonderful response to Eddie. So, Eddie, focus on it. You'll get on a bit of a roll here, and I think it will come down to that France-England game, and that will be fabulous, because that starts giving you a bit of edge going in towards the World Cup. And if France then could take that one at Twickenham, you say, well played, big boys. Young boys are becoming big boys. They get rolled there. It's like, now you've lost to Scotland, and you've lost to England, and you get a rejuvenated New Zealand side, and you still haven't played South Africa. Question marks then start getting asked.
Not to dredge up the Six Nations debate, but Italy, Ireland, is it worth having a chat about?
Well, I spoke to the Italian guys this weekend, and they're a bit pissed off they've got to go.
At the moment, you can get 20 cents on your 100 rand. For an Irish win.
Wow, fabulous.
And the bookies aren't even giving you anything for an Italian win because they know it's not going to happen.
But 30 points to Ireland.
Do you think Italy puts up anything that can be called a brave resistance?
Yes, I think we all like romance here.
How did you know?
35 differential on a 35 successive loss.
Okay.
But let's keep them in the Six Nations, so we're always guaranteed to win. So I don't know what's going to happen now in the 20 game, because apparently they've got a great under 20 side.
I'm looking forward to 6
it's going
to be like that Welsh side where, since 2011 everyone's been telling they're a young side, with these hooks of Sam Warburton's retired.
If I look at that, look at the defeat from Ireland against France, points differential can also come into play now.
Sure.
So Ireland are good enough to come back and emphatically stick a side away, like they did with Japan, 65. I thought it was a fantastic win. The older Irelands would have won that game 28-15. I think this one knows that one or two things happen here. It's going to be who has scored the most points, and Italy provides that buffer. I think the measurement of getting your...
they are the trampoline.
Yeah, it's like, okay, England got 35 differential.
Like
we need 36. We need 40. And if you get to play them at home, you've got to stick them away by 40 plus. It's like
drop the hammer.
Rome can still be a 20 to 30 pointer, but you've really got to stick them away. So, I've got Ireland to win well, kind of get a bit more confidence, but it's down to really it's coming down to that one game now. I think more and more I'm seeing it's England against France to decide who takes the title. Ireland I was very disappointed with. Yes, they fought hard and they were brave, but I was just disappointed with what they actually offered in a big game for them. And that's why they don't make it past World Cup quarterfinals.
Sure. Ol, you got anything to add on that Italy-Ireland?
On Italy-Ireland, no, 30 points.
I'm thinking at least 30 points, probably more.
Yeah.
All right, but I just want to caution to everyone, 2 weeks ago, put in some big predictions on the URC and the Six Nations. There were 4 games in particular, and for the first time ever, I didn't get one right. So be responsible when you're listening to me. There's guys at Highbury Media on the sales floor took a beating in their pools because they came to me for a wine. I said definitely Ireland, definitely this, definitely. I gave them scores, and on Monday I said sorry. So
big asterisk on all the predictions for this week. Thanks for tuning in, guys, and we'll see you next time.